Welcome back, fellow faithful of the Four-Armed Father. This is Beeranid 40K, and today we get to look at the troops section in our overview of the Genestealer Cult Index so far for 8th edition, and how to kind of put that into a more competitive list. People have said it can't be done. I think it can, and we're going to look at this a little bit further with a video that I've been the most excited about making since I started this Tactica, and it's the thing that I think will contribute the most to our little hobby group, the cult players banding together here. I think we might have found something, and I'm excited to share it with you. So we're looking at troops today, and it's been said that troops are the army you get when you're a general who's trying to do other things with your military. And I think that that's a very apt kind of analogy for what's happening with the troops in our index for 8th edition. The fact of the matter is that we're not going to be using our troops the way that they are supposed to be used. The troops, as GW means them to be for almost every army, is something that takes objectives, holds objectives, bogs down or tar pits, and or makes a screen for more valuable units. Unfortunately, our Neophytes are incapable of this. The Neophytes are my favorite infantry models in the entire game of 40K. I mean, the ability to bring shotguns and auto guns and the way that they look, it's just, they're awesome. I've loved them ever since, before they dropped back in 7th edition when they were just teasing it. I thought it was awesome. But unfortunately, they're staying home in our more competitive lists. When you're playing with your buddies and stuff, every now and again, bring them out, give them some love. But just for now, they're staying home. Like I said, just at least until our codex is released. The reason is that despite their guardsman stat line, their low points cost, Neophytes just don't have the benefits that guardsmen have. They don't have the orders. They don't have first-rank fire, second-rank fire, or any of these things that make the ubiquitous guardsman an actual threat on the battlefield. And the ability for the guardsman to do the essential function of a troop's choice, as it is assumed that a troop's choice will operate. Now, I suspect that we will get our own unique form of orders in the codex when that comes out. It might be a long time before it does. Hopefully it's not. But until it does, the Neophyte hybrids simply do not have the output of fire that it takes, to take objectives. They don't have the staying power to hold objectives, even if we put them on one that's open. And they don't really have the ability to maintain an effective screen for more valuable units to stand behind them while the Neophytes, for example, weather the shots. They just kind of seem to melt and die before any enemy opposition. But the Acolyte Hybrid, on the other hand, has something very interesting, and this is what I'm excited about, is it's something that seemingly kind of appears to have slipped past most people in 8th edition. Even those codex hounds that are trying to make the most competitive type list possible. And that's the heavy rock cutter. Now, a heavy rock cutter, get this. If you don't know what this is, the heavy rock cutter lets you roll a d6 after a successful wound. If your roll is higher than the enemy model's remaining wounds, it is instantly slain. Let me say that again. You hit this guy with a rock cutter. If you successfully hit him, you roll a d6. If your roll is higher than that enemy model's remaining wounds, it's instantly killed. Doesn't matter if it's a Primarch. Doesn't matter if it's a monstrous creature. The only thing that this doesn't work on in the rules is vehicles. So keep that in mind. But this sleeper weapon is obscenely overpowered. It just might be the most powerful close combat weapon in all of 8th edition 40K. And we can take 2 of them in a 5-man squad of Acolyte Hybrids. 5 men, 2 rock cutters. And that makes our Acolytes' most optimized role in actuality not one for taking and holding objectives or screening more valuable units. Their most optimized role is a completely unexpected one. It's hunting monstrous creatures. Our troops are killing special characters. Our troops are hunting Primarchs. This is insane. This is our tax unit. But until the rock cutters are inevitably FAQ'd, they will be if people start using these on the tabletop all the time, and some of these, power gamers with a bigger platform start perhaps utilizing the Genestealer Cult for what they could potentially be, until that happens, until we get this stuff just blown out of the index with all these FAQs, we should exploit these shenanigans, and we need to drink the enemy tears while we can. Now, the rock cutters, you got to get them in. You got to get them into the combat. This is a close combat weapon, so you can help the rock cutters do their job by taking a few wounds off the enemy target first. That's kind of going to be key. If you have something with 10 wounds, you have a reroll, but, there's a 50% chance of getting a 4 or higher, so that's kind of where you want things to be before you rush these in. I mean, a 4, 5, and 6 is doable with a reroll. So bring it down as much as you can before bringing these guys in to meet that target, okay? That really high-cost model that, the Gilliman or whatever. So one option to help you out to take some wounds off first is simply casting Smite with a Magus or a Patriarch before you assault with the Acolytes. Or, here's another thing that only the Acolytes really have access to in the codex, is the Demolition Charge. Demolition Charge is a one-use only grenade, inflicts D6 strength 8 hits at AP -3, and that in turn deals D3 damage each. So you chuck one of them, and that alone could be goodbye Typhus, Mortarion, Gilliman, Carnifexes, or whatever else that you want to rush with your Acolytes. But then whatever's left on there, you stick these guys in there and just finish the job. So for your troops choices, I suggest taking 5-man squads of Acolyte Hybrids. The only upgrades, a heavy rock cutter, and a single demolition charge, right? That's 88 points for the entire troop, the entire unit. Or just get rid of that demolition charge, take 2 heavy rock cutters in that 5-man squad. That'll run you 101 points, and just bring a Magus to cast Mass Hypnosis before you try and stick your guys in. And also before he does Mass Hypnosis, if you bring a familiar, you can have him send some Mind Bullets with Smite, and that'll help with what I was talking about, taking some of the wounds off first before you stick these guys in. So that's another way to run that. So I hope this helps you, and I want to know, what do you think? Please tell me in your comments. In the comments of this video, have you ever heard of a tax unit being used to hunt monstrous creatures and Primarchs before? So let me know. That to me is just insane. And like I said, it's something that I was the most excited to share with you in this consideration of a Tactica for the Genestealer Cult. And this sleeper weapon, these blasting charges and rock cutters on these little Acolyte squads, these little 5-man ignorable squads. I think this is what people were missing when they've been saying, oh, Genestealer Cult is not competitive in 8th edition. If you mix some of these in with a few 15-plus man units of the Pure Strain Genestealers, and you mix in this shenanigans of the Cult Ambush, putting the Genestealers right where you need them to be, wrecking the enemy infrastructure, wrecking face turn 1, and then meanwhile these ignorable little, they're just a little 5-man Acolyte squad. That's his troops. Get in close enough to start hunting some of these other units, these more valuable units. I'm interested to see how this shifts the meta and starts, if people are using this more and more, if it kind of snowballs, and if people might start using the Genestealer Cult more often in tournaments. So what do you guys think? Have you ever heard of a tax unit being used to hunt monstrous creatures and Primarchs? Is this something that you're going to be using? I want to know. Please let me know in the comments.